Love your life. My life.
Why do you have to do that? Like, it was cash up until that point, and then you just did that.
Fed back to us that people look at us, they look at the things that we're doing, and they're like, how do you keep, just keep doing stuff? It seems like you're always out with cameras, you're always taking photos, taking videos, cutting together reels, putting stuff up on YouTube. Like, how do you, why are you so busy? And I just think it would be a good thing to talk about why that is, and why we are the way that we are. I mean, how have you found it?
I have had the same thing said to me. It got to the point where I wasn't spending time with the people that I wanted to be spending time with because I was just working, so I had to, do things like set alarms on my phone at 5 o'clock in the evening every evening just to say, stop working now and, actually do something outside of work. I have it where people ask me if I want to do things, and it's not that I don't want to do them, but I'm just doing something at the time, and I want to keep my focus on that. So I've had it quite often where, the way that I do work gets in the way quite a lot of the time. But this isn't really about motivation. This is almost about fucking workaholism. But I guess that's the answer there. I stay motivated because I'm a workaholic. But yeah, I mean, to be fair as well, quite a lot of the time, I'm not necessarily motivated. I'm just like, I just want to. I don't know. I guess I don't just want to do nothing. So like, I know that you put in the work and you get what out. Like that doesn't make a lot of sense. I didn't word that right, but you get out what you put in, and I know that's very cliche, but it is true. You work and you get stuff in return, and that doesn't mean either that I'm only working to get stuff in return. But the point stands that I'm trying to put in the work now so that in late 30s I can just be like, cash, let me just take a day off, or let me just buy this new thing. I just want to be able to do what I want to be able to do, and I guess I keep my goals in my head, and I keep my not motivation, but I keep the fact that like I know what I want on me all the time, and it just means that I'm able to keep going.
Yeah. And I mean, you mentioned two really important points when it comes to motivation there. You mentioned, I don't want to just do nothing, and also you're sacrificing your time now so you can have time in the future. Not doing nothing is a big motivator for me. Like, I have had experience of where I felt like I was, sort of like wasting my time, wasting my life. I felt like I wasn't doing anything, I wasn't getting a lot done. And the sort of realization of that and the change around like, it's your life, it's in your control. And, coming from not doing anything, it really provides me with a lot of motivation because I'm like, no, I've done that. I experienced that. That was cool, that was fun. But now I want to see what it's like if I put in the effort, if I really, really work towards something. And I think you have to experience nothing to know that there can be something. It's like you can't be happy if you don't have sadness to sort of contrast it. It's the same thing. If you want to be motivated and you want to work hard, you're also probably going to go through periods where you're not motivated and you're not doing anything. And that serves as a catalyst for you being motivated.
I mean, like you say, you have to have moments where you're not motivated. That's a big thing because it seems like people have said that. It seems that we're always motivated, or that or you, or like singularly, whatever. But it appears from the outside like it's always the same. Like it's always work, it's always motivation, but it's really not. Like I'm currently editing together a new show reel, and I'm getting to the point with it where like I'm just really struggling to do it, and I'm feeling really negative about it. And every time I go and sit in the edit, I'm there and I'm like, I really don't want to be doing this, and I feel like I'm bashing my head against a brick wall. But I know that, like, I just kind of, it's in the back of my head that I know that if I do it now, you know, that show reel, obviously show reels are important, and it's not necessarily a show reel, but like doing that work now that you don't necessarily want to do is really important, because in the long run, it will just benefit you.
And I think as well, picking the times where you do the work, that's a big thing as well. Like, if you're feeling not motivated, you're feeling really negative about it, you might need to take some time away from it. But there's a certain sense of striking while the iron's hot. And when you say, I wake up one day and I'm like, you know what, I'm feeling good today, I'm feeling positive, I'm feeling energized, it's like, do some work then. You know, like, use the times where you do feel it, and you know, like, I've personally been amazed at how much work I can get done when I'm feeling positive. And so a lot of motivation for work comes from, you know, like, working on yourself and feeling positive on a day-to-day basis. And you've got to support yourself with that, because if you feel negative, you won't want to be doing stuff. But the other thing that you mentioned was sacrificing the now. You know, like, you said, I want to be able to, when I'm 30, take days off, you know, like, buy whatever I want and that. And so rather than, I think you and I are a little bit different in the sense that, like, rather than spending our 20s spending money, buying stuff, going out, partying, that sort of stuff, it's like we've sort of flipped it round and we've done the reverse. So we want to spend this time working, so then in 30, 40, 50, 60, you know, like, we have an easy time of it.
I mean, the thing is like, I don't think I'm better than anybody, like, in this world. Like, obviously I have an ego, that's, you know, everybody has varyings of that, but I know that when it comes to most average people, everybody retires. Like, the retirement rate keeps going up. It's like people are retiring now when they're 65 and 70, even later. Some people, you know, I work with people that are like, somebody I work with is like 80 and they're still working just normal stuff, and it's madness. But like, I want to be able to, you know, do my work now, enjoy what I do, and not stop my work, but get to the point where when it comes to 30, 40, 60, like, whatever, if I want to spend time with my kids, you know, do things like this, I won't have to work around what's going on for me, because I'll just be able to go, right, cool, I'm gonna set some time aside to be with the people that I want to be with, instead of just, you know, you know, not putting in the work now. And that's not to say that people don't put the work in, but not being in the situation where I have to work first in order to spend time with the people that I want to spend time with.
And I think seeing people, because it's a very common thing where, like, parents are working really hard to provide for their children. They always are, to the point where they might not be seeing their children as much as they want to, because of the fact that they're working so hard to provide for them. You know, we saw in our family, you know, like, our dad worked so hard to make sure that we had the house, that we had the food, all that sort of stuff. And as a result, you know, like, he probably missed out on times that he wanted to spend with us but wasn't able to, because he had to sacrifice that time to make sure that we could grow up from a comfortable position. And I think that that's something that's really important as well, is that my time now, I'm never going to have as much energy and as much motivation as I do right now in life. You know, I'm only going to get older, and my body's going to start to betray me, and it's going to be more difficult to push myself to do things. So I think using this time now, I don't want to be smug about it, but I feel like it is potentially a smarter choice for us. Not necessarily for everybody, but for us, I think it suits us really well. And the idea of sacrificing the now for later comes from, like, a recognition that the work that you put in now ripples out. So in 5 years, in 10 years, we're going to be experiencing the benefits from the work that we put in today, tomorrow, because nothing is instantaneous. Any work that you put in on yourself, on your business, on your, you know, like, your mental well-being, anything like that, the change doesn't happen straight away. It's the really annoying fact of life that, like, say you're like, I need money, I need more time on my hands, I need to take some actions to support myself. You have to consistently put in work for like 6 months, a year, before you even see a change that you wanted. And it's where it's really difficult for a lot of people, you know, when they're in desperate situations, they need a change straight away. But change is slow. And if you want to build a change which is going to be sustainable and is going to last rather than change back, you need to take the time to build it.
I think as well, actually, thinking about it, like another reason why it might seem like I or we or whoever it is we're talking about in this moment, or kind of anybody in the world really, is because quite a lot of people aren't actually motivated. They're just scared of failing. Or, you know, it's the complete opposite of what it looks like. It looks like you're so focused on your work, you're so focused on like, you know, being the best at whatever it is. But actually, you just are so like concerned about not being who you should be, and that's a big thing as well. Like, you know, when it comes to, I'll bring it back to me. When it comes to like, I can't get an edit done, I'm like, no, I know that this needs to get done. Like this has to be done, and it's just part of it. It's like, it's not even like I'm so happy to be running through this edit, because quite a lot of the time you might edit something that you think is just completely like mid, you know, but actually you're just like, no, this needs to get done, because if I don't do this, like this leads on to something else, and everything you either don't finish or don't work on in the moment, like you say, it's not now, it is the future. And I think that's the thing I'm not too concerned about right now. You know, I'm concerned about what might happen in the future.
And right now, you and I are experiencing the benefits of the work we put in 2 years ago. Like, you know, the life that we live now, where we've got, you know, the equipment that we've got and everything, it's all a snowball effect from the work we put in years ago. And you said something really interesting there, which is that people aren't actually, well, some people might not actually be motivated, they're just scared of failing, and they're scared of being perceived as a failure, and so they're like pushing themselves, and they're like, no, I'm gonna work really hard, and I'm gonna show people that I'm, you know, a hard worker, and I'm not a failure. That mentality, in my experience, in my own personal experience, is not sustainable. We're talking about motivation here, and I'm talking about true motivation, not panicked, you know, like running in the opposite direction and trying to keep up appearances and trying to, I'm gonna prove this person wrong, I'm gonna live up to my family name, I'm gonna, you know, like all of those reasons, they can push you to a certain point, but anyone who's a creative, anyone who's gone on a journey of self-discovery, trying to motivate themselves, trying to push themselves, reaches a point where that doesn't work anymore.
This is the thing, it's like, I identify with that feeling. I used to feel that way a lot. And I was like, I have to get this done. I have to, you know, like, I remember I had a science teacher who, like, just was not my biggest fan. You know, I wasn't very nice to him. He wasn't exactly very nice to me. And I remember when I passed my exams, I went up to him and I was like, you see this, mate? This is what happens when you doubt me, you know. And I really get that feeling of like, I love proving people wrong, but that just kind of gets the ball rolling. That gets you started, but it's once you've started that you have to take a step back from that, because otherwise every single thing you do is like, yeah, I've got to do this to heed to this person.
And it's like, people are watching me, I've got to make sure, because that's another thing as well. When you start to broadcast to the world on social media, if you've got a website, things like that, you're trying to prove to people that you're active, you're doing work, and that you're constantly progressing and succeeding. And so where you find yourself, you know, like sort of like inviting people to come and watch you and watch your journey, you've then all of a sudden got that pressure of, well, I can't let it look like, you know, like I'm taking a day off or something. And so, and it's something you see with social media a lot, in that people will post when they're doing work, but they won't post when they're not doing work. So you only ever see other people doing work or doing an activity. You never actually see the downtime that person takes, or like No one ever like jumps on a story and is like, do you know what? I'm really not feeling the edit today. I'm feeling really negative today. So I'm just going to sack off business and just go home and sulk.
I think that's the thing, especially now with, obviously it always comes back to social media quite a lot of the time, but it is a big thing. Like, like you say, social media is a highlight reel. Like, nobody's going to look at this and think they spent an hour setting that up. They're just going to go, oh, I would hope, oh, this looks cool, and no one cares about what goes behind the scenes. And it's not so much that no one cares, but it's just the nature of social media. It's like you scroll through any account, it's like, if you're scrolling through an industry account, it's like, this is all the work I've done, but they don't show that there might have been 3 months in between two projects where you're trying so hard to get more work. And it's like, all of this stuff, it's like, hey, I did this. And it's like, whilst, yes, that's good for like a portfolio perspective, it is, I don't know if I should say damaging, but it's not great for the people that aren't.
It creates a false perception. It creates this illusion that, like, to be successful, you're constantly having things going on. It's like you see, like, influencers and stuff, they're like, you feel like they're always eating out, right? But you forget the fact that for the past 6 days out the 7th day of the week, they didn't put anything on their story. But when they did put something on their story, you're like, oh, look at them at that restaurant. Oh, wouldn't it be nice to have that much money? It's like, and behind the scenes, they're actually, like doing lines of cocaine because they're so stressed about the fact that I've got to get my money up so I can go take photos of my food. It's like, the social media thing is a massive impact on motivation. And it creates a lot of like toxic motivation where people are like, no, I'm just going to appear to be motivated because that's what makes you successful. That's what's going to make me, like really sell myself to other people.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is like, to the people that might watch this and either do or don't think that we are motivated, it's like, some of the times I am, some of the times I'm not. Quite a lot of the time I'm not. But I know that if I, want to have the future that I want, I've just got to get on with it.
And something that I found with motivation as well is that it's really difficult to be motivated if you don't know what you're motivating yourself for. It's like, why would you be motivated to live a life that's vague? And like, it's like you wake up in the morning, you're like, yep, I'm motivated, but you've got nothing to do with that energy. So what do you do then? Something that really supported me, I won't speak for you, but something that really supported me was committing to a pathway. Like, we're obviously young, and one of the issues that young people face is like, what am I going to do with my life? What am I going to do with my time? What am I meant to do on a day-to-day basis? And the motivation that we experience comes from the fact that we know what we're going to be doing on a day-to-day basis, and we have something that we can work towards.
It is true, it's true. I remember when I left school, I was literally like, there were so many people that like, yeah, I want to be a vet, or like whatever it was that they wanted to do, and I'm literally just walking out of school like, what? Like, I've just, like, everything's been working towards this one point, now everything's stopped, and what do I do now? And then it took me probably about 2 or 3 years to figure it out.
It took me years. There's a reason why I'm sat here 24 years old, only just finishing the first year of university, because I wasn't sure. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Being young, you have so much potential. You could literally be anything. Everybody tells you that. It's like, you could be anything, you could do anything. And it's like, oh shit, well, how do I decide what I am going to do? Because you could literally be anything. And I feel like it's a stress that, not necessarily just young people, but obviously, they experience it a lot more because they're in that stage of their life where they're meant to decide. But people hold that stress of like, I need to decide what I'm going to be. Who am I? Like, who am I? What do I do on a day-to-day basis? And the people that I see the happiest and the most motivated and the most successful, they've picked a pathway and they're just following the path, and they're just progressing and improving their skills in that specific craft. It didn't have to be photography for me. It could have been masonry. It could have been carpentry. Like, it makes absolutely no difference what it is, but once you've got something at which you can go, yep, this is what I do, then you can start to work on your skills and develop yourself. And that feeling of developing, becoming better, becoming, for lack of a better term, like a master, you know, like mastering a skill, that fills you with self-esteem because you're like, no, look at me, I'm good at this.
It's interesting what you've just said. It's something that Jordan Peterson actually said once. He was like, you know, it does not matter if you don't know what to do. Pick literally anything. Just pick one thing, make a plan. If it's a terrible plan, you can reassess and change it. It doesn't mean that you have to then do that for the rest of your life. It could be that 5 years down the line, I'm like, actually, I want to be a like GT racer. Like, that's absolutely fine. But at least if you have a direction, you can figure it out when you're on the way, whether it's working, whether it's not, whether you're enjoying it or whether it's not.
And I only discovered what I wanted to do from doing everything I didn't want to do. I have worked in care, I have worked in pubs, I have worked in kitchens, I have worked in retail. I have done like such a wide variety of jobs, of day-to-day activities, you know, like even lifestyle choices. You know, you choose that you want to live your life a certain way, you want to center your life around a certain thing. It doesn't just have to be a job. It could be, you know, like you live your life centered around your partner, you live your life centered around a substance, you live for the weekend so you can go out to the pub and see everybody. And like, it's only through living those lives and experiencing it that you can actually weigh up for yourself, is this what I want? Is this what I want to do on a day-to-day basis? Without that experience, you won't know. And you will literally just be sat there like I was for years. I stress this, 4 years. I never just woke up one day and was like, yep, photography, and then just ran with it. It took me years to get to this point. But you have to have the evidence. You have to live a little and go, do I like this? Is this what I want for myself? And when you begin to start to answer those questions, that's where you find your motivation. Because I cannot stress how good it feels to do something.
This is the thing, and in answer to the original question, how do you stay so motivated? I don't stay so motivated. I just know what I don't want to do. And I think that's the biggest thing. If you know what you don't want to do, you don't have to know what you do want to do. You can just do the opposite of what you don't want to do, and you'll find something. And for me, this is what it's been. Yeah. Pre the Air Max. Oh. That just did not look good.
I'm going to cut that out. I'm just going to cut that out. I might like leave it in the end of the edit. But I'm just gonna cut it out of the actual interview.
You're not editing this one.
Oh, well, you will.
Oh.